Hi, everyone. We're back with part two of our Fireside Chat with Chris Ma, our Chief Science Officer, and Vedant Kardar, our Chief Technology Officer here at Pitstop. If you missed part one, it is live on our site at pitstopconnect.com. So this topic for the part two of our Fireside Chat, we're going to discuss Pitstop features and addressing the modern fleet manager's needs. What algorithms does Pitstop support right now? What is your most used popular feature? So I'm going to leave it to you guys and hey, educate us, please.
So one of the main features that we have that has been extremely useful for our customer base has been the fault code management system that we built. So like these fleets, they're getting like tons of fault codes, like on a daily basis, thousands of fault codes are being generated based on the fleet size that a fleet has. And it's creating a lot of noise. So there are like certain fault codes that can be ignored, certain fault codes that are extremely important, and some that are important but can be like that. Those fault codes can be waited till the next service visit. So what we built on our side is a way to manage these fault codes and build classification algorithms that will classify if a fault code is a critical fault code, a major fault code, or a minor fault code. So what that does is it really helps the fleet manager filter out the noise and tell them, hey, like these are the severe fault codes that you as a fleet manager should be worried about today or in the upcoming week. And that's been like one of our most popular features. And it also does various other exciting things, such as it clears the fault codes on its own. So you don't have to manually go and mark those fault codes as completed. It looks at things like engine hours. So let's say if the fault code came up, and then since 5 hours of engine hour driving time or 10 hours of engine hour driving time, that fault code didn't appear again, it'll mark itself as complete by itself.
Okay, good, excellent. Um, so that fault code management and classification. What are the parameters behind it? Critical obviously needs immediate attention. Major, when would that fall into the perspective?
Right. So for major, what we advise is that if a fleet manager sees a major fault code, what they can do is they can call the driver and check with the driver if they are experiencing any driving issues that are significant or apparent. Or we tell them that, hey, like let's say if you have a PM coming up, that the vehicle, if we have that knowledge ahead of time that this vehicle anyway needs to go in for service within 2 weeks, we will advise them, instead of sending it after 2 weeks, pull it in before that. So pull it in next week, or the sooner the better.
So basically, with that information, I'll be able to plan my trips to the shop a little better. So I don't have drivers sitting around the waiting room because there's a check engine light on the dash.
Exactly.
Excellent. Thank you. Now, throughout our conversation, guys, in this fireside chat, we've been talking about algorithms, right? So, Chris, can you give us some examples? And what are some of the most popular features that are based on these algorithms?
Yeah, the algorithms that end users will see most often on the dashboard are the battery model and the diesel exhaust fluid model and the brake model to some extent. Whereas the trouble codes are error conditions that are put in place by the manufacturer. These are algorithms that we have developed in-house based on the incoming PID sensor data. So they work by detecting unusual conditions that may indicate that there's, for example, a weak battery because the voltage is fluctuating a lot, or if the DEF fluid tank is getting emptied more often than you would expect, or it's projected to be empty in a day or two, which could be very inconvenient because the truck would go into limp mode. And yeah.
What are the product design principles for this platform?
There are three main design principles that we had when we were building out this platform. The first one was that it needs to be extremely simple to use. So the cognitive load for a fleet manager has to be lowest as possible when they're looking at this new platform. We do realize that they are extremely busy people, individuals, and they do not have time to learn, like let's say, new softwares all the time. So the concept was that the information that we're going to present to the fleet manager has to be in a very simple, easy to friendly to use manner, and it had to like fix their existing workflow. And then what we thought was like it's really good to have summaries for their entire fleet up like in the main screen on our dashboard. And if they want more information, they can always go click a button and get to that in-depth information. So that's like the one of the main design philosophies that we had. The second one was alleviating data overload. Fleet managers these days have a lot of different platforms, softwares that they are using. And what we want to do is we want to get that data from different platforms together in one place. So it's easy for them to generate reports, look at insights. They can get email alerts easily for things like, let's say, if there's a critical issue on the vehicle, they don't need to come on the platform specifically to see what that alert is on a daily basis. They can easily get reminders or alerts on their email. So it really fits into their existing workflow.
So
and yeah.
in simplistic terms, then it's more of a push model than a pull model.
Exactly. Yeah. Like we don't really want you to come on the platform just for the sake of coming on the platform. We will let you know if there is something important happening within your fleet. And we don't want you to like spend too much time on this platform because we know you guys are extremely busy. The third pillar of our product design principle was scalability. We want to serve fleets that have 50 vehicles up to 10,000 vehicles. And that's how we've designed this system so that it's very modular in place. So let's say you as a fleet, you care only about getting PMs into a Pitstop, we can provide you with that functionality. Now you're a more complex fleet, you want PMs, you want fault code analysis and our predictive insights, we can turn all of them on together. And we want to make sure we are able to pull data consistently, reliably from all the different assets that you have within your fleet.
Excellent. Sounds like it's quite a robust process with your three pillars. Now, you just mentioned it, things about work orders and scheduling and those type of things. How does Pitstop ingest the work order information? How does that tie up with the telematics? Like, how does it dovetail?
Right. So work order information is one piece of information that we leverage, and I think that's something like really distinguishes us from other platforms out there, is that what we do is we combine the knowledge of work order information, so what happened to that vehicle in the real world, and then we combine that knowledge with the telematics data, so the sensors that are giving us the battery voltage data, engine coolant temperature, all the algorithms insights that we are generating. Those are then tied up with the work order data, so we can actually see how accurate our algorithms are. And we're constantly evolving our algorithms, and we're seeing, okay, what are those main failures that these fleets are having in the current time, where like what are some of those failures that Pitstop can predict ahead of time. So we do a lot of analysis on that. And the way we built like our ingestion system is fairly simple. They can go on Pitstop on the platform and they can upload CSV files of the work order data, so we can then easily upload that data into our system, or they can share us those files through emails. And sometimes we work with fleets and help them like create a process where we can take their service history data and upload it to our backend directly.
Chris, how do you guys measure the accuracy of the alerts?
Well, the dot provided a nice segue into that answer, because we do get service records from many of our customers, and so we're able to correlate our predictions of problems with what actually appears in the service records. That's a simple answer. It's also possible to correlate some of the trouble codes with the algorithms as well. We worked with a major manufacturer on the brake model, and our brake model is based on vehicle speed, which is fairly indirect measure of braking. But by tabulating it over time, we're able to get a fairly accurate measure of brake wear. So the manufacturer had a bunch of technicians actually making measurements of brake pads, and we were able to correlate our prediction with their brake pad measurements, and it did seem to do quite a bit better than their predictions.
That's pretty impressive, gentlemen. That's doing it better than the OEMs. You can't fault that or complain about it at all. That brings me to another question: the competition. People say there are other organizations and companies that are out there that are able to provide predictive analytics. Vedant, what do you have on that? What are your thoughts?
It is good to have competition in this space. It is a very new, exciting space that we are part of right now. For some of the algorithms that we built, they are truly predictive. What I mean by truly predictive is that we're not relying on predictive or preventative maintenance schedules to predict when the next service is coming up, but we're actually looking at the sensor data that's coming from these vehicles. So we have built algorithms that will look at battery voltage over time to predict when the battery is about to fail, and it will give you an alert at least a week or 2 weeks in advance, which other companies are not currently doing at the moment.
Thank you for listening in on our Fireside Chat Part 2. Please make sure you tune in for Part 3, where we're going to discuss the future and where Pitstop is going.